The Tennessee Titans continued to make their roster on Wednesday, and general manager Rand Carthon said he has had enough of John Robinson's leftovers. I'll explain on today's edition of Locked On Titans.
You are Locked On Titans, your daily Tennessee Titans podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome to the Locked On Titans podcast. I am your host, Tyler Rowland. Titans fans, today's edition of the Locked On Titans podcast is brought to you by Gametime. Download the Gametime app, create an account, use the code LOCKEDONNFL for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Download the Gametime app today. What time is it? Game time. Rand Carthon continued making massive changes to the roster on Wednesday. We got another trade. We got 2 waiver claims. We got some cuts to go over. Basically, Rand Carthon said, I'm tired of John Robinson's leftovers. So I'll go over all of the moves. Also, the Titans set their practice squad, at least for the most part, and there are some players on the P squad that will contribute for the Titans this season. I'll tell you who they are. And L'Jarius Sneed back at practice. And I'll let him say it. It's go time. So we're going to get into all of that. Before we do, thank you for making the Locked On Titans podcast your first listen each and every day. Remember, Monday through Friday, Tennessee Titans content all year round, always for free. You're not going to beat that anywhere else. Make sure that you get subscribed, stay subscribed. It's your team every day. Speaking of every day, next week, it's time for the season. I'm going to be doing my record prediction, my MVP prediction for the Titans, Defensive Player of the Year prediction for the Titans, all kinds of predictions all week long until we get to the last few days of the week. Then it's time to turn our focus to the Chicago Bears. Also want to let you guys know that I'm going to have a film breakdown on T'Vondre Sweat's performance against the Saints out on the Tic Tac Titans film channel on Thursday morning at 8 a.m. If you aren't subscribed to that, click the link down below in the description. Get subscribed to the film channel. What are you doing? All right? What are you doing? But with all that being said, again, crazy day of transactions for the Tennessee Titans. I mean, wild. So we'll just start from the beginning here. The Titans signed 2 players on waivers. They got an edge rusher, defensive lineman, and Ali Gay, 6'6", 260 pounds. The Titans claimed him off of the Texans' cuts. He is a long and rangy player, according to Rand Carthon. He had 8 pressures and a 12% win rate in the pass rush in the preseason. A guy with no true NFL experience, but someone who should be able to help the Titans. And basically, he is taking the place of Rashad Weaver, who was released. Rashad Weaver released. Ali Gay added to the roster. And then the Titans also added defensive back L'Jarius Wood, 6'2", 186 pounds. He's really more of a safety than a cornerback. I know everybody was waiting for the Titans to add a corner, and they added defensive back, and you would think it has to be a corner. But really, L'Jarius Wood is a safety. Again, 6'2", 186 pounds. Got him from the Dallas Cowboys. This preseason, he has been one of the best defensive backs in the entire league. 67 coverage snaps, only allowed 9 yards, had 2 interceptions, and allowed a 22.9 passer rating. So L'Jarius Wood is a guy who's done well in the preseason, but more importantly, a very, very good special teams player. Bones Fossil, who is the special teams coach for the Dallas Cowboys, actually got a hold of Rand Carthon and was upset that they stole L'Jarius Wood away from them. So Wood is going to be a special teams player, but he is a safety with some potential. And in his place, we saw Rashad Weaver get released to make room for Ali Gay. Elijah Molden has been traded to the Los Angeles Chargers. It's going to be for a late round pick. We haven't seen the official trade compensation, but a late round pick. I'm thinking probably a 6th, 7th round pick, somewhere in there. But overall, you look at those 4 moves together, take 2 guys off who were John Robinson draft picks, and then add 2 new guys who are younger players who Rand Carthon was interested in. That basically Rand Carthon said, I've had enough of these John Robinson leftovers from 2020 and 2021. They got rid of Christian Fulton. We saw him get rid of Caleb Farley. We saw him get rid of Malik Willis, who's a 2022 guy, but all the same, he is just absolutely getting rid of any of these players from John Robinson's two worst draft classes ever, 2020 and 2021. I mean, despicably bad. The only player that remains from those two draft classes is Dylan Radins. I mean, I understand. I understand why Rand Carthon would do that. It's a whole new era, new coaching staff, need to get some new blood in the building. And Elijah Molden has been good, but there are some reports, according to Justin Mello, that he was not happy with the Titans this offseason and he wanted to leave. So good. You send him back to the Chargers. That's fine. And then Rashad Weaver has just not been impressive at all this offseason. We talked about Rashad Weaver versus Arden Key for who will get the starting edge spot early in the offseason. Not only did Rashad Weaver not get the starting edge spot, but he got passed up by a 7th-round rookie in Jalen Harrell and an undrafted free agent from last year in Caleb Murphy and an undrafted free agent in Ali Gay, who the Titans picked up off of waivers. So they had just had enough. Rashad Weaver had a terrible final preseason game. Elijah Molden has been good, but been banged up outside of his rookie year. And his rookie year, he's playing slot cornerback. Now he's a safety. So it's a totally different calculation. But those are the four big moves that we saw the Titans make. We also saw, however, some other moves. The Ernest Jones trade is now official. He passed his physical, so he's with the team and on the roster. To fill his spot, Cedric Gray will be placed on IR. This is something that we've expected to happen for a week and a half now, that Cedric Gray would be placed on IR. The rookie linebacker from the 4th round is having nerve issues with a shoulder injury. So, anyways, that is another move the Titans made. Cedric Gray to IR, Ernest Jones trade is official. So right now we're at 3 players gone from the roster: Molden, Weaver, Gray. And we're at 3 players added to the roster in Gay, Wood, and Jones. But there was also another move that happened on Wednesday, and it kind of surprised me. Nick Van Etten, the veteran tight end, was released. But according to Rand Carthon in his press conference on Wednesday, it was a procedural move so that they could open up a spot on the roster, but they will be signing Nick Van Etten back to the roster on Thursday. So Nick Van Etten will be back on the 53-man roster. The reality is, if you cut Chigakonko, or if you cut Thomas Odukoye, or you cut David Martin Robinson, they have to go on waivers because they haven't played in the NFL for more than 4 years. But if you cut Nick Van Etten because he's been in the NFL for more than 4 years, he immediately becomes a free agent, doesn't have to go through waivers, and then the Titans can just sign him right back. So again, a procedural move. But Rand Carthon has said, I've had enough with these John Robinson holdovers. Get them off this team. Let's get in new blood that fits the new coaching staff. And that is exactly what you want to see him do. At the end of the day, the 2020 draft and the 2021 draft ruined John Robinson's career for the rest of his life. We could talk about the A.J. Brown trade, but it was really those 2 draft classes where John Robinson completely fell apart. And it only makes sense that Rand Carthon would finally want to cut out all the fat and cut the umbilical cord on those draft classes that did not work out. So the roster is at 52 players right now. That means they have room for 1 more. We'll talk about who they should add at the end of the show, but now let's talk about the practice squad and guys who I really think are going to make an impact for the Titans this year. Before I do want to let you guys know that today's episode is brought to you by 5 Hour Energy. Look, guys, I like 5 Hour Energy, okay? Especially when I'm tired after lunch. I got to tell you, me personally, I just always get really tired after I eat. And if you're like me, you're not alone. In fact, research shows that more than 70% of us hit the wall after lunch. Let a 5 Hour Energy shot help you leap over that wall rather than crashing into it. With zero sugar and a convenient portable size, it's the perfect pick-me-up for getting stuff done. The 5-Hour Energy website has flavors galore too, like watermelon, tropical burst, grape, berry, and more. There is a flavor for everyone. Try them all on the website. You have the option to build your own 12-pack or your own 24-pack, and you can choose your flavors, and it's delivered right to your door. If you go to 5hourenergy.com, and that's the number 5hourenergy.com, and get some 5-Hour Energy product today, you can use my promo code LOCKEDONFB, LOCKEDONFB, to receive 20% off your order. The offer is only valid until September 30th on one order and cannot be used with other promotions. The code is not good on subscription orders. Go to 5hourenergy.com today. Titans fans, let's continue today's edition of the Locked On Titans podcast. We're looking at all of the roster moves, all of the news in general surrounding the Titans on Wednesday. It was an insane day. We went over all of the transactions, the trade for Elijah Molden, the 2 waiver claims, releasing Rashad Weaver, the Nick Vanette procedural release, Cedric Gray to IR, Ernest Jones officially on the team. Went over all of that, but the Titans also set their practice squad, at least part of it, on Wednesday. I'll tell you who made the team and why I think there's a lot of guys on there who will have an impact this season. Before I get into it, do want to thank you again for making the Locked On Titans podcast your first listen each and every day. Make sure you get subscribed, stay subscribed. There's a reason this is the number 1 Tennessee Titans podcast in the world. Women lie, men lie, numbers don't. This is by far the number 1 Titans podcast in the world, so you don't want to miss any of the free content I'm putting up. Also, check out the Tic Tac Titans film channel, Tavondre Sweat film breakdown on Thursday, 8 a.m. You're not going to want to miss it. But with that being said, make sure you throw a thumbs up on the video, throw a Titan up down in the chat. The practice squad is set, and I'll quickly go through the names before I kind of give you my take on the names. Number 1, running back Jabari Small. We wanted to see that. We wanted to see Small back on the practice squad. He is there, running back out of Tennessee. The man that cannot be killed, Mason Kinsey, is back. And man, Kinsey has such a good sense of humor about all this stuff on Twitter. Really appreciate that he, doesn't take things too seriously. He's posting memes. The Simpsons meme where it's Barney and Mo is throwing him out of the bar, and then all of a sudden Barney is behind Mo back inside the bar. Mason Kinsey basically put out that meme of himself. The Titans cannot get rid of him, but I think he'll make an impact. Cole Spencer, the interior offensive lineman. Bryce Oliver, the wide receiver we all wanted to see. Bryce Oliver is back, baby. That's great news. Leroy Watson and Corey Levin. So on offense, running back, 2 wide receivers, 3 offensive linemen. On to defense, Abdullah Anderson, the interior defensive lineman the Titans just brought on last week. He is on the practice squad. Isaiah Eiton out of Rutgers, the defensive lineman. Very excited that the rookie made the team. He made some plays in the preseason late in games. Love to see that. Khalid Duke, the edge rusher, who had a great final preseason game. He had like 4 pressures and a sack. Good stuff there. Like to see the undrafted free agent back with the Titans to be developed. Trey Avery on the practice squad. I know you guys all hate Trey Avery, but I think that's a smart move. Keep him on the practice squad. Anthony Kendall, cornerback, also on the practice squad. Gabe Judy Lawley, also on the practice squad, a guy that everybody liked. The Titans only signed 12 players to their practice squad, so they still have 4 spots open, okay? Keep that in mind. But with the players they did bring in, Jabari Small, if Julius Chestnut were to get hurt, Jabari Small would be elevated to the roster, okay? Now, Jabari Small isn't a guy who's as good on special teams as a Haskins was or a Chestnut is right now, but they absolutely believe that Jabari Small can be a good running back for them. So I think he'll make an impact at some point during the season. Bryce Oliver and Mason Kinsey. I mean, I don't know about Bryce Oliver in this year 1, but Mason Kinsey. If for some reason Jaquan Jackson gets hurt, Mason Kinsey is getting the call up because he is a punt returner. and someone that they can count on. So some people love Mason Kinsey. Some people hate Mason Kinsey. I lean more towards love than hate. I mean, I don't love the guy like some people do. He's just a practice squad level receiver, but he has a good personality. I appreciate his candor. He could do a job, punt return for the Titans if they need him. So I think Mason Kinsey will at some point take some punts. Jaquan Jackson is a small player. Odds are that he does get banged up at some point in time during a rookie season in the NFL. Mason Kinsey will return a couple of punts for the Tennessee Titans this season. Marcus is asking, is Colton Dow still on the team? Colton Dow tore his ACL bad at the end of last season. He's on the physically unable to perform list. He's not on the active roster. I would not expect much from Colton Dow this year. But moving on, Cole Spencer on the interior offensive line, a guy that the Titans spent a ton of time with in the pre-draft process. I think that Cole Spencer could be a starter down the road for the Titans. Maybe not next year in 2025, but maybe. Dylan Radins is going to be a free agent after the year. I don't think the Titans will spend money to bring him back. I don't think the Titans should spend money to bring him back. So if you could develop a guy like Cole Spencer to be your starting right guard next year, I think that would be absolutely fantastic. And I've talked about him having that potential since during draft season, and the Titans showed so much interest in him. So anyways, I really like Cole Spencer. I think he could be a potential starter down the line for the Titans. And if the Titans do for some reason lose Daniel Brunskill and lose Andrew Rupsich, I don't think Cole Spencer will have to play this year, but I'm just really excited about developing him. But on the other hand, a guy like Corey Levin, who may not have as much potential, if the Titans do lose a couple of interior guys, Corey Levin is a veteran player who's on the practice squad who can come up and start. Like, he started a few games for the Titans last year, and he's not going to be an outright disaster, okay? So I appreciate having Corey Levin around. He spent a couple of years in Tampa Bay, but Corey Levin has basically spent his entire career with the Tennessee Titans organization, and he's just one of those guys who, over time, he just grows on you because he's reliable. Like, this offseason, Kinsey has been this way for me. NWI has been this way for me. They've just hung around so long, and you just know what you're going to get for them. The Titans have other young guys that they can develop. I appreciate some of these veterans who the Titans just know that they can rely on, and Corey Levin is one of those guys. On defense, Amir Abdullah, I think Amir Abdullah would be called up to the game day roster right now. The Titans only have 4 interior defensive linemen on the roster. I think when they play a game, they're going to call up one of those interior guys, and I think it would be Abdullah Anderson. I've talked about Isaiah Eiton. I wanted to develop him. I think he can be a good player for the Titans on the back end of the roster next year. Same thing with Khalid Duke. But moving into the defensive backfield, I think the Titans will call up Trey Avery in week 1 as well. I know a lot of guys don't like Trey Avery. A lot of you guys do not, and I get it. He gets cooked out there. But at the end of the day, he is a player who's been in the NFL for a few years. He knows the system. He seems to be a smart and reliable player that coaching staffs like. So I think Trey Avery would get called up. The reality is Trey Avery is going to play football for the Titans this year. Okay? He's going to get snaps. It's just the reality. Okay? But anyways, that's the practice squad. The thing is, they still need a few other places. The Titans need to add a third string quarterback, and Brian Callahan even said it would be nice to have a young quarterback to develop in here. So I would expect a quarterback to be added to the Titans practice squad. They need a backup kicker on the practice squad to develop as well. So I would look for somebody like that. I didn't mention it in the first segment, but Braden Narvison, the kicker that we all liked, went to the Green Bay Packers. He's on their active 53. He's going to be their starting kicker. Man, I hope that doesn't blow up in the Titans' faces because they stayed with the 40-year-old guy that they like. And then Hassan Haskins went to the Chargers. So reuniting with Jim Harbaugh. He's a Michigan guy, Michigan connection there. So the Titans, two guys the Titans cut did get picked up off waivers. So that's interesting to see. But with that being said, it's go time, folks. The season is here. L'Jarius Sneed back out on the practice field. I'll break that down now. Before I do want to let you guys know that today's episode is brought to you by Gametime. Gametime is the best place to buy tickets, period. And now it's even better. Gametime has a new feature called Gametime Picks that lets you get tickets to your favorite live events even easier. Gametime Picks filters out all the fluff to show you only incredible deals on great seats so you don't have to waste time searching through thousands of tickets. Gametime has the best features in the industry as well. All you got to do is toggle on the feature, and you get all-in prices. So you know exactly what you're going to be paying for your tickets when you go to check out. You also get a view from your seat, the Gametime guarantee. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Gametime. Download the Gametime app, create an account, use the code LOCKEDONNFL for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account, use the code LOCKEDONNFL, LOCKEDON NFL for $20 off. Download Gametime today. What time is it? Game time. Titans fans, let's cap off today's edition of the Locked On Titans podcast. We talked about the Titans cutting ties basically with the entire 2020 and 2021 drafts from John Robinson as they made more roster moves today. I know that my podcast people won't know this, but I definitely misspelled goodbye on the rundown on YouTube. So give me a break on that. But we also talked about practice squad guys who I think will make an impact this year, guys who I'm excited to develop going forward, and what the Titans still need on their practice squad. Now we got to talk about practice, because guys, we could talk about all these end of the roster changes, but the reality is the Tennessee Titans starters are who they need to play well this year, and two primary starters on defense are finally back at practice. L'Jarius Sneed and Chido Awuzie. Huge news for the Titans. Only two people missed practice on Wednesday. It was DeAndre Hopkins, which should be expected, and then Jamal Adams. And Brian Callahan continues to say Jamal Adams doesn't have an injury, just dealing with general soreness, which to me, if you've missed practice for, 3 weeks or so, he played in the joint practice a little bit. I've been told that it was incredibly limited. And that's even what the Seattle reporters were saying, is that Jamal Adams played a little bit, but barely. If you have barely practiced in the last few weeks and you're just already sore, I don't know. It's a bit concerning. That's all I got to say about that. But more importantly, L'Jarius Sneed and Chido are back out there. And I love the quote that L'Jarius Sneed said. He said, it's go time. Like, he's going to be a participant in practice going forward. Brian Callahan said that as well, that they expect L'Jarius Sneed in practice the rest of the season. Like, they had a maintenance plan for him during training camp, but now we're in the season. It is time to play. It is time to practice. So love hearing that. Love that L'Jarius Sneed is back. Love that Chido is back. Now, I read that Chido was limited, where L'Jarius Sneed was just full practice, ready to go. Chido was a little limited, but he should be back to full go by next week, ready for week 1, ready for the season. And Brian Callahan said, basically, they're looking at the Bears now. Like, it is on. Like, it is time to prepare for week 1. In practice this week, they're looking at the Bears. The players are going to have a little bit of a break over the weekend. And, I mean, it's game day week. Like, I cannot believe. We get so bogged down in the training camp day to day and the roster moves day to day. But, like, the season is here, ladies and gentlemen. The season is here. All these changes. Brian Callahan getting hired, giving Rand Carthon the keys to the organization, making changes in the player development area and strength and conditioning and the medical areas and the analytic areas. Like, all of these changes the Titans have made. There's only 17 players on the roster right now that played for the Titans last year. I think that's the number. Like, they have totally remodeled the defense, totally revamped the offensive line and the wide receiver group. Like, this is a whole new organization, a whole new team, a whole new direction, a whole new vibe. Everything about this is brand new for us. Like, for 25 years, the Tennessee Titans have been led by former players. And I saw a clip of the Patriots head coach, like, yeah, I know who the starter is going to be, but I'm not telling you guys, to the media. Now, he said he was going to tell the team the next day, and then he would probably tell the media. So he probably just wants to tell the team first. But I'm just so happy that we don't have to deal with a former player running the team. Like, Mike Vrabel coached like a player. He handled the media like a player. Same thing with Mike Munchak, and same thing with Jeff Fisher, and same thing with Mike Mularkey. Like, it just never ended. These guys wanted 3 yards in a cloud of dust. We're going to rely on our defense and our run game. We're not telling the media anything because we think it gives us some competitive advantage. Those days are over. They are over. Like, it's just a great feeling. So I think more moves are coming. The Titans have an open roster spot. I think they need to add another cornerback or add another interior defensive lineman. That's what I would be looking for. But 4 spots on the practice squad, 1 spot on the open roster. We're going to get more roster moves. I'm going to be back with you guys tomorrow to break it all down. Next week, I'm going to be doing some predictions early in the week. My official final record prediction for the Titans. I'm going to look at who the defensive player of the year will be, best rookie, biggest surprise. I'm going to do all those different things. And I think I might even do one last mailbag before the season kicks off. You could send those questions to me at Tic Tac Titans on Twitter. But we're here, folks. We are here. We made it to football. So excited. Throw a Tighten Up down in the chat. Throw a thumbs up on the video. Make sure you check out the Tavondre Sweat film breakdown coming out on the Tic Tac Titans film channel tomorrow at 8 a.m. Eastern. That's going to do it for me today, folks. As always, I am your host, Tyler Rowland, and this was Locked On Titans.